Hi guys, I wanted to quickly review with you what you're being asked to do on the They Say, I Say lesson number 1, which is adapted from a book that many teachers across the country use to help students effectively integrate other people's ideas into their own research writing. Okay, so your instructions are up here in this top section. I'll just go over them with you. To see how one writer signals when she is asserting her own views and when she is summarizing the views of someone else, read the following passage by the social historian Julie Charlip. As you do so, highlight in yellow those spots where Charlip refers to the views of others, and you're going to want to underline the signal phrases she uses to distinguish her views from theirs. In other words, you're underlining where she's setting up somebody else's words, and you're highlighting what those ideas or words are. It won't always be a direct quote. That's where it can be confusing. Okay, so I'm going to go through and demo in the first 2 paragraphs, and then you can continue the rest on your own. Okay, a real class act, searching for identity in the classless society. And this is an excerpt from Julie Charlip, the historian that we read about in the directions. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go through these 2 paragraphs and just see if I can identify signal phrases. And I will underline those signal phrases where she sets up where she's going to insert somebody else's ideas. Marx and Engels wrote, okay, right away I know that's a signal phrase. She is introducing the ideas of the economists Marx and Engels. So what did they write? That's in quote marks. We're going to go ahead and highlight that in yellow. Sorry, I'm going to change to a highlighter. Society as a whole is more and more splitting up into 2 great hostile camps, into 2 great classes directly facing each other, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Now, these are kind of outdated terms, but for our purposes, you can think of them as the 1% and the rest of the 99%. Okay, and then we recognize an in-text citation. We get a page number. So we recognize that from the quote sandwich work that we did. But for this activity, all you're doing is identifying the different signal phrases and the different pieces of other people's ideas. Now, when you see a quote, that's an easy indicator of somebody else's ideas. But we know that you can paraphrase somebody else's ideas and you still want to use a signal phrase to introduce those ideas, and you still want to cite those ideas, even if it's not a direct quote. Okay, if only that were true, things might be more simple. But in the late 20th century America, it seems that society is splitting more and more into a plethora of class factions. That means a great number of class factions. The working class, the working poor, lower middle class, lower uppers, and upper uppers. And then I guess we would add 1% to that. I find myself not knowing what class I'm from. Okay, all of that, even though I'm not asking you to identify it, if I asked you what part of that first paragraph represents the author's analysis, could you identify it? I'm going to give you a minute of think time before I go in and highlight for you. Okay, if you guessed that all of this is the author's own ideas, then you would be correct. So again, this is a classic quote sandwich. Notice the ratio of the author's ideas or your ideas to the quoted materials is always going to be larger. Okay, let's see what we have in paragraph 2. I'm going to number these. 1 and 2. Okay, so we're looking for signal phrases and other people's ideas. In my days as a newspaper reporter, I once asked a sociology professor what he thought about the reported shrinking of the middle class. His definition, okay, that feels like a signal phrase to me. So I'm going to underline that. If you earn, okay, so his definition, colon, we know everything in that next little bit of the sentence is directly quoting the sociologist. So I'm going to grab my yellow highlighter now, and I'm going to mark that. If you earn $30,000 a year working in an assembly plant, come home from work, open a beer, and watch the game, you are working class. If you earn $20,000 a year as a school teacher, come back home from work to a glass of white wine and PBS, you are middle class. Okay, so all the rest of that paragraph, she kind of breaks that quote sandwich rule. With intent, though, all of that is the sociologist's definitions. Okay, so I feel like you are well equipped to handle the rest of the document. Once again, you are always going to underline the signal phrase the author uses to incorporate somebody else's ideas, and you will always highlight what those other ideas are, whether they're direct quotes or paraphrases. All right. Join me in conference if you have any questions, and don't forget to submit that assignment on Canvas. Thanks.